Hi everybody, it's James from Jurassic Unicast, and today we are discussing Jurassic World Rebirth. And today I am also joined with some of the boys. Here they come. There's Kris, Mike, and Matt. And I'm just going to unmute them because I muted them because they're noisy. There we go. There we go.
How's it going, boys?
How are we all?
Yeah, it's been a while, Matt.
It's been a long time.
How's everyone feeling?
Not too bad.
Ready to talk.
We've got an echo in here.
Is it mine?
Are you echoing?
Yeah, yeah.
I can't hear an echo.
No, I'm not getting an echo.
Just you.
Right, there we go.
Yeah. Anyway, so there we go. Back to where we were. So all right, COVID. Jurassic World Rebirth. We came out last Tuesday, and it's been a whole week and a half since it's came out. I've seen it twice. The cinema. Matt, you've just watched your second viewing, haven't you?
I have.
Kris, how many have you seen?
Just the one for me at the minute.
And Mike, just the one for you?
One for me at the moment, yeah.
So it'd be interesting in your first initial thoughts. My first thoughts, you can actually see mine and Steve's review on the channel. If you click the blue thumbnail of the Spinosaurus in the water, the 4DX screening, you can see that our fresh out the cinema reaction review. My views are slightly changed since then. A second viewing has definitely helped me. Matt, you felt similar. You've got a lot of issues, which we'll still discuss later, but your second viewing was a bit better for you, right?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
And you two, you've seen one each, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to do 4DX yesterday, but I've done my back in, so can't do it. So I'll have to wait till my back's a bit better, and then I might consider it.
It does throw you about.
Yeah. I've done 4DX and other things, so yeah.
And I actually was planning on going to actually see it over the weekend, but then I got the summer cold, so that was me out for the entire weekend. So yeah, that's my excuse.
I am actually seeing a third viewing on Saturday at the Showcase Cinema Deluxe.
Mm-hmm.
So I will have a reclining chair.
Okay.
Yeah, reclining chair. And I'm going with Jack, which hopefully will be joining at some point soon. He, big Jurassic fan like us. He's on the Jurassic Park chat thing we have on WhatsApp. But he's been on the channel maybe once or twice.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he's a big fan. Right, let's get into the topics of everything, really, basically. We all had a general idea about what this film was kind of about based on the synopsis. A lot was given away in the trailers, wasn't it? Again, marketing from Universal doing their bit just to completely destroy and ruin the movie. Yep. Well done, Universal. Let's start with you, Matt, because you seem to be the one that seems to be the most disappointed with the movie, probably out of the four of us. Was it nothing like you expected?
Yes and no, in a way. I think I created a problem for myself, to be honest, because not only did I watch the first two trailers, but I watched TV spots, behind the scenes featurettes, etc., which obviously revealed so much more. So going into it, a lot of what was already shown on social media was in the film, so it ruined it for me in that sense. I think that probably is half the reason why I've got the opinion on the movie I do, but it just didn't feel Jurassic. And I know that sounds stupid, but
no, it doesn't sound stupid.
If they didn't chime in the classic John Williams theme 2 or 3 times in the movie and make you think, oh my god, oh yeah, this is a Jurassic World, Jurassic Park movie, to me it wouldn't have been anything like what we've been used to. I left the cinema very underwhelmed by it, and as you said, I watched it for a second time only a couple of hours ago. Finished watching it a second time, and again, I still feel very underwhelmed. I enjoyed it more the second time around. Don't get me wrong, and there are a few things I had an issue with the first time around at this time is oh, okay, that makes more sense. Oh, I didn't notice that before, so that's not a problem anymore. But I still have that underwhelming feeling of like, I just feel like it could have been so much more. And I think because we already seen so much in the trailers and everything like that, I think this film was so devoid of any surprises. I think that's probably a big issue a lot of people have with it, is that everything was just shown prior to the movie being released, and that's a big problem because you want surprises going into the film as well. But yeah, it is what it is.
I mean, you're entitled to feel like that, though. Do you know what I mean? You're a big fan of the franchise.
It's my franchise. I love it.
Everyone's allowed to have expectations, and I just think it depends on you as a person and whether on how laid back you want to be about things. Like this has definitely gone a different direction in terms of its target audience, I think.
I fell into the trap of, oh my god, David Koepp's back, the writer for Jurassic Park and The Lost World.
No.
Surely this can't fail.
I think we all did.
And watching it, I think David Koepp should have stayed back in 1997. To be honest, it's just, don't get me wrong, there are things about it that I love, like the CGI, the dinosaur action scenes, the dinosaurs in general. They were brilliant, and the set pieces were phenomenal. But
yeah,
other than that, it's just, to me, I actually think the movie was too long. Like, you could have cut 40 minutes out of that movie, and I think it would have been a lot better. But it's just, it's one of those movies. I think it's like Marmite. You're either going to really enjoy it, or you're not going to like it at all. So, and I'm more towards the end of not enjoying it at all.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, boys, Kris.
I'm more in Matt's side than I am yours in this film. We spoke about it, didn't we, in the chat a little bit, like in terms of like, I agree with a lot of what Matt said. I think it was a really good movie. I really enjoyed the movie for what the movie was, but it's not a good Jurassic movie. Like if you put that movie in the King Kong franchise or something like that, works great. Yeah. I think even the Mutadons, they look almost like the skull crawlers from King Kong. They're almost, apart from the wingy bits, they're almost identical in kind of their form factor. Other than, I would have liked to have seen more OG dinosaurs in it. And I know that's not where they've gone with this movie, and I get it. But I think that's what Jurassic is. It's dinosaurs. It's not. I think they've gone too far now with the hybrids. And like I say, I enjoyed the film and I will watch it again. Even I'll buy it on DVD, Blu-ray as well. But for me, I didn't like the D-Rex. We'll probably get into the JP Raptor thing later on, but I've got issues with that. But I say overall, I enjoyed the movie. I just didn't enjoy it as a Jurassic movie. Like you said, Matt, other than the music coming in at certain key points, it could be another movie.
Yeah.
But overall, I enjoyed the film as a movie, just not as Jurassic.
Mike?
So for me, unlike you two, I enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed Jurassic Park 3. It ticks all the right boxes in terms of what you want for an exciting monster movie, popcorn flick. But what it doesn't do is tick all the boxes to make it a good Jurassic Park extension feature. I liked all the cast. I liked the scenes in which we got humans interacting with dinosaurs or being chased by dinosaurs. That was absolutely fine. I love the D-Rex design, but I'm a bit biased towards that anyway because it reminds me a lot of my own Xenorex from my Wildlife on Mars short pictures. The one thing I do have an issue with... Say again?
I said nice plug.
Oh, of course it is. Yeah, damn straight. The one thing I do feel a bit disappointed by is the fact that David Koepp being part of this whole writers team, I thought we were going to get something that was more akin to Jurassic Park and the Lost World, with the way that the whole story would be written, the characters would be written, the way that scenes would play out. This, to me, feels like they took elements of Kep's writing and then slapped it in the middle of someone else's scripts. And it's like, right, okay, we'll do this. Oh, that's crap. We'll get Kep's part into this. That'll really make it exciting. Then we'll go back to the previous script. It doesn't feel like a coherent script through and through. There are other issues throughout the whole film, which I know we'll probably talk into, so I'll save them for later. And the Harryhausen storyteller in me as well is literally screaming, I know how to make this film so much better. Hell, I could even make the trilogy better if this one gave me a bloody shot. But that's another conversation with people that actually want to listen to it. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed this. I enjoyed it a lot, but not as much as I hoped I would do.
Do you know what got
I
me?
certainly enjoyed it more than Dominion, though, that's for sure.
You mentioned before that all the way through, and I'm going off what you said, Matt, I only actually watched the initial first trailer and the international trailer. I didn't watch any of the TV spots or anything like that. I felt those two trailers did spoil a decent amount of it, but going back, they've been harping all the way through this about, we're taking, this one's going to feel the most like a Jurassic Park movie. I didn't get that. The only thing I got with that was the colour palette, taking back to maybe the original JP. But that's what they've been promoting this as, like, and the closest thing to JP that you're going to get from the world movies. And I didn't feel that. But I say, like I say, I can't say I didn't enjoy the movie, because I did. I came out of it thinking that was actually a good movie, but yeah, it wasn't Jurassic. A question for this: did you miss real dinosaurs in this?
Yeah.
Other than the Dilo and the Rex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think that obviously we knew the sort of the creature roster was going to be scaled down anyway, which is fine.
Yeah.
But to have this is one of the issues I have as well, because to have two roster slots taken up by more hybrids, I think that's why it doesn't feel like a Jurassic movie, because what we had the Rex, Titanosaur, Quetz, and then the Mutant T-Rex. That's 5. So only 3 were real dinosaurs. And don't get me wrong, the set pieces were fantastic. They were really, really brilliant. But in my opinion, the D-Rex didn't need to be there. The Mutodon certainly did not need to be there.
I mean, look, I've listed my negatives. I'm just going to go through them, and then we can discuss that bit you just said then.
Yeah.
I'd say my biggest issue with the film, for me, I've got, because I want to get to some positives. I don't want to. We can start with this bit, and I want to get to the positives, because there are lots of good things about it too. So the Mosa design change, I love the new design of the Mosasaurus. I prefer the new design of the Mosa, and I love the color palette of it that they use. Make it like very like snaky, reptilian looking. Yeah. But it's just annoying that they kind of try to sort of manipulate you to think that, oh no, this is the same one. The timeline issue at the start of the film needs sorting, because that's good. We can discuss that properly in a minute. I just want to go through these quickly. For me, I think it needed just a little bit more science. Like, I would like to, like in Avatar, Grace Augustine, she goes to Pandora because she's obsessed and in love with like the actual flora of the place, and wants to experiment on the plant life. And I guess this is what I thought Ellie would be doing in the last movie, and she didn't. But that's the sort of thing that I wanted them to do. Like the plant life is taking over our plant life, and it's almost producing a toxin for humanity, which is what not good for us, and it's making them thrive and not us. It's almost like I wanted the opposite of this to happen, really. It'd be good to see if, Henry Loomis going in and finding a certain, like a prehistoric plant, and then doing some analysis on it, and then maybe finding like a dead carcass of like a compy, like one of those red compies that look really cool. So we got to see an up close version of like a maquette thing, and he actually did like a little diagnosis thing on it, and actually did a bit of science in this film. That's something I think we could have done with, and I think it would have added a little bit more of a fun and Jurassic feel. Completely mugged off with the raptors. That annoyed me.
Yeah.
But that can link in with the mutant thing I'm just about to talk about as well. And the mutants did actually affect the story in any way. Like, it was a weird choice. You could take all the mutants out of this movie, even from the start and opening scene, because the opening scene doesn't actually affect anything that happens in the story, other than them.
Did a mutant actually kill anyone?
No, only it would kill Crep.
Other than
apart from the first scientist in the opening,
opening scene and Martin Krebs it killed. We don't know whether it was stuck in that facility for 20 years or it was, it was just loose around that area. I don't know. I'm assuming that it got out, hence all the damaged infrastructure. I'm assuming it obviously got out and it's just wandering about that area. But I don't know. There's a lot of questions about that mutant. Like we don't know anything about it. We don't know why it was made. We don't know. We don't really know when it was made. We know it's got a T-Rex in its DNA, but that's about it, really. It kills that guy, and then obviously we're meant to believe that this is going to be like now it's broke like a xenomorph breaking out. We now from that point onwards, like we're going to be on the lookout for this bloody mutant thing. You hear a noise, you hear a tree move.
Yeah,
you're like, oh, there it is. Turns out it's not. Anyway, and obviously we don't see that again until the end of the film. And then the Mutadons were literally just a raptor replacement. But you could take both of those out of the film, and it doesn't stop the three scientists or three people, the main characters, getting the job done. The main mission was to get these DNA samples, and nothing about the mutants even stopped them at all remotely. So they might as well have not been in a film.
It also kind of got me at the beginning, like we didn't know before this film really where this was going to take place because that hadn't really been told. We know it was going to be a facility, but the fact that this facility is so far away from any other islands that Jurassic Park has been on, like I know it was a research facility, but take this right. So that was the 5 deaths were in Costa Rica. This one was in where was this one? This was trying to think where this was based, but it was nowhere near Costa Rica. So say they got a dinosaur, they've then got to ferry that a lot further to Costa Rica to get to the island if they wanted to. It just doesn't make sense logistically. And again, it's just what we found another island with dinosaur nuts on it. We've had like 6 movies now, and this island has never ever been mentioned in any text, any backstory, no nothing. It's just another island that's popped up. I can get over that. It's storyline. They've got to make movies. The only way they can do that is by popping up another island. But I don't know. It just didn't make sense. Like you said, James, we just wanted a bit more backstory and how this came about. And I think I probably would have been a bit more satisfied with it.
I mean, I like the opening scene. The opening scene's great. It doesn't bother me. I think it's one of the better ones, to be honest. I think the way it was, it's a bit tongue in cheek the way it happens, but I don't really mind it at all.
There's no way everything can be brought down by a Snickers. There's no way on earth. Like about it, maybe, but not Snickers. But like I say, I actually there's some really good things I liked in this movie. Like there's some really nice scenes. I like the scene with the compare. I even like with the scene with the dialogue. The Rex River scene was great. Again, we'll come on to what we like. But again, I don't want to just hate on this movie because I actually enjoyed the movie, but there is quite a few negatives on it in terms of it being a Jurassic movie.
Yeah.
Would you rate it above Dominion?
Absolutely.
Me?
Yeah.
I think in terms of dinosaur set pieces and everything like that, yes, because Dominion really lacked that sort of thing. And again, if there's one major positive I will give to this movie is that for the first time in quite a few films, the dinosaurs themselves, even the T-Rex as well, actually, it actually felt like animals. They felt like animals, not movie monsters. They behaved very naturalistic, and that's one thing. That's a big thing for me. and so that's a big plus for me. But would I rate it above Dominion? I probably would, yeah. But don't get me wrong, Dominion, I understand the problems it's got, and it does have a lot of them. But I enjoy Dominion. But I think a lot of that is because of the original cast, because I'm a sucker for nostalgia.
Yeah.
So
Tell you what,
Yeah.
one thing I did like in this film was the CGI was flawless.
it was
Yeah,
brilliant.
so
Like,
good.
The CGI was so good. Like I've nitpicked CGI in the past with Jurassic World and stuff like that, where it just certain things irritate me. There's not one point in this film where it kind of took me out and I thought that doesn't look
yeah,
right.
yeah, it's brilliant.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think regarding like the way the Dominion conversation, I think Dominion suffered with trying to do too much. I think.
Mhm.
I mean, it felt like a mixture of stories that were trying to go on one journey and fuse into one story for a finale. And there were certain elements of the stories that kind of it was almost, it could have been its own trilogy on its own, to be fair.
Yeah,
Almost like the Henry Wu type sort of arc was a bit. I don't know. I kind of didn't like the way they chose his journey to go. I wanted it to be like the novel where he he dies. The Maisie storyline went all over the place. It made it, if I'm honest, it made it very difficult to understand. Like at one point, I felt Fallen Kingdom kind of made the story quite simple. Like she was a clone, that's it. And whereas I feel like because people didn't like the cloning idea, they've tried to think, okay, well, it's out there now. How can we manipulate the cloning idea to, I don't know, to make it still work, but let's change it slightly. And then they did the whole reproduction on what do you call it? What Maisie did. She injected the egg.
Self-fertilization.
Yeah, she did like that sort of thing, and it kind of then it made it a little bit complicated because then it was talking about like dates back to 1986, and it was just weird. It was just a bit of a confusing one.
I tell you, I mean, you listed your negatives there of this film, Rebirth. My 4 major negatives of this film is one, us building us up to see the original Moser and then not seeing it. I like the design of the new Moser, but I would have liked to have seen the original alongside it, cohabiting with it. If the Spinos can do it, that can do it.
Yeah, but
this is the original Moser.
That's the issue I've got though, because there's a bit of dialogue in the film that says when they're discussing the Moser on the boat, that since chapter 11, so basically when InGen went bankrupt after Jurassic World, they've been tracking it ever since. That's absolutely fine. But then if you're going to do that, just keep the same design, because this new design is amazing.
That was my biggest
absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
But how, even if that dialogue's in the movie, which obviously we have to take it as face value, it's the same Moser, but how do you expect people to sit there and believe, oh, so this Moser just got rid of its scoots, completely changed its colour, and it's just so...
This
like,
film was not made for
annoying
fans. This film wasn't made for fans, because all these things that we have a problem with, my mum wouldn't have noticed. My mum loved the film. She gave it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
Because she loved the characters, she loved all the dinosaurs or what they were. She didn't know anything about the timeline. She's seen all the films. She didn't know how long Jurassic Park was meant to be ago. Like she didn't know, like this isn't made for hardcore fans. This film, there's nods in it. There's nods in it, which we'll talk about in a little while because I've got some really good little nods in there. That are like for the fans, like little Easter eggs.
Yeah.
But in terms of the simplicity of the story and the little subtle design changes, it's not made for us. Like people that don't care about the lore of Jurassic and just want to see, a Mosasaurus attacking a boat. They're not going to care that it's got no scoots on its back.
I say
only we do.
Only we do. My only 4 issues
so
was the Moser not having the JP Raptors maybe showing a little bit more. I didn't want them to be a plot point or anything like that, but it would have been nice to see him a little bit more. The third thing was the D-Rex was useless. I think it was a useless dinosaur. And I just don't think it did anything. And what you said in your review as well, James, where the last third of the movie, everything had been done. There was nothing else left to do. They're my 4 major gripes of this movie. But in hindsight, when you think about them, they're not massive deals. But yeah, they're my 4 negative points, I would say.
Would you agree that this movie would be better suited if it was a prequel to Jurassic World?
Yes.
Yes.
For me, it was a cross between King Kong and Terra Nova.
Yeah,
I
because obviously the film, the opening scene was 17 years ago, so it's meant to be 2010, right? The park opened in 2015. No, sorry, 2005, wasn't it? But obviously, this is a time where they were apparently people getting bored of looking at dinosaurs. They wanted the new, like, more teeth, so that's why they were doing the genetic, like, the hybridization stuff like that. If they set this movie before 2015, so before Jurassic World, I think this, I personally, for me anyway, I'm only speaking for myself,
Yeah.
I would have enjoyed it a lot more because there would be a lot of questions we have
Fits
now.
the law better.
Okay, so
Yeah,
why don't you
it
pretend?
fits the law better, exactly.
Why don't you just pretend it is then?
Because
there's not enough law there.
Because I can't.
Because they could have explained away, if they did it like Matt just said, they could have explained away why this island has never been mentioned before.
Right.
Again, could have been explained like this tragedy happened. I know they've done it now, but it just seemed a bit shoehorned in. Whereas if this was set as a prequel and it goes back and stays there for quite a while, you can, I don't know. Yeah, I think it just worked better as a prequel. I've never thought about that.
Just for argument's sake, right? Let's just change the name of the island to Isla Matanceros or Isla, or even Sanctuary Island.
Yeah. One of the 5 deaths. One of the 5 deaths.
One of the 5 deaths, or even Sanctuary Island that was talking about by Lockwood. Just change the name of it, and then got powder on me. But then also we've got change the title at the beginning of how many years ago it was to Jurassic World. It could quite easily be because there's no connections to anything that comes after Jurassic World. Like the only connections we've got is the Dilophosaurus and the T-Rex. They're literally the only 2 designs that stay true to the Jurassic canon already. Yeah. And to be honest, I think that and
that's
the
Apatosaurus.
Yeah, I know, but do you know what? The Apatosaurus could always. Oh yeah. No. I think I reckon they've just gone. I think this is the thing. This is where this script. This is where this script. I know. Yeah, there's a massive Apatosaurus. But also, I think like people. This is where I think maybe the rushness came in, because for all we know, this could be intentional. It could have been intentional to show and sort of back up their idea of, people don't care about these animals anymore, because one bloke's calling it a brontosaurus, another one's called it a brachiosaurus. Then when we look at it, it's actually an apatosaurus, right? Or the screenwriters didn't know which asset they had in the archive. Yeah. And the CGI artists have gone, well, we've got a load of these apatosauruses, let's just throw this one in. And they've rendered it into the footage. And then you've all of a sudden got, and then by that point, it's too late on the dialogue, but it works and fits the narrative of people not knowing what animals what anymore, and lack of caring. I mean, I kind of don't like the idea of the animals not being cared about, because when you drive down the road and I point out a horse or a cow to my daughter, she loves it. She goes mad. And it's just a horse or a cow, because it's something that she sees in books, in media, and on TV, and then she's seen one in real life, so she naturally has that, oh wow, even though it's just a cow or do you know what I mean, or goat. Whereas I don't think that magic would ever go. I honestly don't. I could see the annoyance of them. I could see them becoming a hindrance, especially ones that would kill livestock. I could imagine there being an actual.
Or even look at like elephants in Africa that damage like farmers' crops and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I can see a Apatosaurus or something like that doing stuff like that. So I can get the hate on that side. But
thing is, I look at it this way, right? Dinosaurs, they've been back. The public's known about them since 1997, right? Mm-hmm. They've only been able to see them in a theme park since 2005.
Yeah.
So by the time this movie comes out, 'cause it's set in 2027, so that would be 23 years. 22 years, right? There is no way the public interest would completely collapse like they've led us
No.
to believe. Yeah, it may wane slightly, but it wouldn't completely collapse.
Yeah. The other factor that they're not taking in as well. Sorry. Did you carry on, mate?
No, that's fine. All I was going to say is that zoos today, they've been around for what, 100+ years. They're as popular today as they've ever been.
Yeah.
And that's animals that you can even go outside and see if you live in the right part of the
Yeah.
world. So are they going to try and lead us to believe that if dinosaurs were ever brought back, within 20 years of them being in a theme park, the public is just going to completely wash their hands of them, but stick to going to the zoo to see elephants and tigers? It's rubbish. It's so stupid.
Yeah.
I think it's
Go on, Mike.
ridiculous.
Go on, Mike. Who's going to say something?
Right. So so the other thing that it doesn't take into account as well is that they're thinking in terms of the general public are getting tired of these animals, which I agree with you all. That would never happen. No one ever goes to a zoo and think, oh, there's a bloody elephant. God, I really wish that thing had 2 trunks just to make it a little bit more exciting and different or something. Or a giraffe with 2 heads or something. No one ever says that. No one goes to a zoo and says that. Most of these people that in this universe have been to see these animals behind glass. None of them rarely get the chance to interact with these animals. So when they get brought onto the mainland and start causing havoc, yes, they're going to be incidents, whether it be like something like Battle of Big Rock, or they're going to be an inconvenience where you can have a herd of Triceratops crossing the road, which is blocking an entire motorway. But no one's ever going to get tired of looking at these animals. They have a different perspective, but no one's going to get tired of them. I mean, I cannot say for any incidents that I've seen on a news report where there's been an escaped animal from a zoo, or there's been an incident in India where wild animals come onto the main road and cause an incident to motorists, where people are just like, oh, it's another animal. Oh, wish the whole world had just got rid of them or something. We've gone back to be de-extinct or something. It's just like, what kind of writer thinks that and think, yeah, this is the plot narrative that's going to drive the film forward?
Yeah, I will say though, next time I go to the zoo, I am going to ask them if they've got a 2-headed giraffe, and if they haven't, I'm leaving.
That's a point.
I look back to the scene in Dominion with Maisie. You know when she crosses the bridge and the 2 apatosaurs are in the snow?
Yeah.
Like, that's obviously a working sort of area, and they all stop to be amazed by these majestic animals, and then even to herd them out of the area. Does that look like the public interest has waned, or they're a hindrance? No, they're still in awe of these majestic creatures.
I do think in that situation though, they are meant to be shown as a hindrance though. That's why
that didn't come across in the movie, did it?
I mean, I thought it did, because they had to use the flares to get rid of him.
The only people that would have found them a hindrance are the people that are paying the employees to actually get on with their work. All the employees were like, wow, this is amazing. This is absolutely fantastic. All their bosses would have been like, the deadline's ticking, boys. You need to get these animals gone so we can crack on. They're the only people that are losing interest, not the public.
Yeah, all the workers are like, oh, electric's gone down. Let's have a break now. Come on, chill out for a bit.
Exactly.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, the thing is, I don't think I'll ever understand that sort of point of view of they're not really an interest anymore. I get some kids. I think what it was, the Jurassic World were trying to hint that, kids look at an elephant, let's take a Stegosaurus like an elephant at the city zoo.
Grew up with them.
That's an issue. I guess it's more familiarity. But I mean, I think that sort of narrative, I think people try and jump on that a bit too much. This film doesn't really hark in on that too much, I don't think. It does at the start, like they try to suggest that that's the case. But once they're out the city and that is the case, the minute we step foot on that island, like that whole entire sequence at the start is completely forgotten. The only thing that I kind of remember from it is the fact that Henry Loomis, I don't think is getting paid. I'm not sure, because I don't even know if he agreed on numbers.
Should have asked for money up front.
Yeah.
But I know we've crapped on this movie a little bit in the last 45 minutes, but I say there are a lot of good points in this.
Well,
movie.
we're going to get to that. We'll get onto that. We
Yeah.
might. I'm going to. If anything, we're going to segue onto it now. So, guys, so far, if you have actually stuck around, we're going to go through the negatives and the positives. We're going to get to the positives now. So there are a lot of positives of this film.
There are.
So let's move on to the positives actually, and I'm going to talk about things we love about it. Things we love about Rebirth. Let's start with old Mr. Happy, Mr. Snickers himself. What do you love about Rebirth?
I thought the characters were brilliant for the most part. I think the three main cast were brilliant. I think Duncan. Well, it's weird because months ago we were speaking about it that we thought Duncan Kincaid would be our favorite character in this movie, and proven he was. Zora was brilliant. I think Henry Loomis was sometimes a little bit goofy at the beginning, but I thought he was really good. Even is it Leclerc, the French fella? I thought like he didn't do much.
Tell you his name.
Yeah, but yeah, he was all right. Obviously, there's some forgettable members like the couple that got eaten, sort of thing. But the family as well. I thought the family were going to be annoying, and even the kid. I enjoyed this kid more than I probably enjoyed Maisie in a way, because she didn't talk too much. But the boyfriend was annoying. He should have got eaten at some point.
He grew on me a bit.
Did he?
A little bit.
Yeah. He grew on me a little bit, but we're talking like this.
Yeah.
Much
like at the beginning of the film, I thought this is going to be another Franklin where he's going to proper bug me all the way through the film.
That's sort of his role, though, wouldn't it? Like that comedic sort of role.
And I think that's what he was going to be like all the way through. But I think from that fire scene where he kind of thanked him for saving his daughter, from then on, I was kind of okay with him.
I suppose.
But no, I think like for me, big positives, as I said before, CGI was like impeccable. Really enjoyed the CGI. The introduction of I'm always game for when you see a Dilo in a Jurassic movie. I really kind of missed it in Jurassic World. Dilo wasn't a big scene, but it was a nice scene. The Rex looked brilliant. I loved the river scene was probably the highlight of it for me. I did enjoy the river scene. And again, the characters, Big Three was good, but I actually liked what was her name, Luna, the eldest daughter.
She was really good.
From Fresh, I know her from Fresh Off the Boat, so I've seen her in that. But yeah, she was really, really good. I liked her in it. But say some of the scenes were just like really, really well done. Like the Titanosaur scene, I think. Obviously, we'd seen quite a bit of that in the trailer.
Sadly.
The Quet scene was actually a bigger scene than I thought it was going to be. I quite liked when he got it and it still had the rope in its beak and stuff like that. So some of the scenes like that was like really, really good. And even going into the genetics lab, like and showing you like the two-headed raptor and stuff like that, still moving and stuff. That was cool. Well, I actually enjoyed that. I say my least favorite part with the parts with the mutodons and stuff. But other than that, I say the rest of the. I kind of agree with what you said, James, as well in your review about that first kind of 30 minutes. You could cut that out. Like, I did enjoy it, but I get what you mean about you could cut it out.
I must say, though, the second viewing, it felt a lot shorter.
Did it?
Yeah.
Right.
No, I agree with that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think what it was is now I've seen the movie, right? And obviously now Matt can vouch for this. All of my anticipation, all of my expectations are gone. Yeah. I know exactly what we're getting. I know exactly what to expect. So the whole build up to that first part where we go on the ocean and we see the family for the first time, I actually found myself being invested in the dialogue of the first part to see if I actually missed anything and to see if there's any like clues and hints that I didn't actually take in the first time, which is why I didn't overly like it that much.
Yeah.
And then what I found is I got to the Apatosaurus bit relatively quickly than I actually first remember. And I definitely like Scarlett Johansson in this. I think she is good. I mean, like, there's a lot of people that have been complaining about that these characters feel very flat, but I mean, but you could tell they were trying to sort of give you a backstory of her and
Yeah.
Duncan's sort of history.
Mm.
Talking, I guess it could come across like they were talking about a lot of stuff that we couldn't care two monkeys about, which they could have. They could have given us almost like like an overlay of some footage of the past, and then it cuts back cuts back to her being emotional and talking about it. But have we really got time for that? Have we really, is what they done actually all right for really, is there time in other future projects where we could go back into her history and it could start, the movie could even start out and then transition into the current day of her dealing with her PTSD. I don't know, a bit like, how I know it sounds, you don't want to talk about Camp Cretaceous, but how Yasmin has that constant PTSD of when she was a kid, and it still lives with her now as an adult. That having that sort of thing to deal with is different because it's never really happened. Out of all these movies, you think out all of these films that we've had, all of these cast members, I think the only time we ever got some PTSD was from Laura Dern in Jurassic Park 3 and that opening sort of sequence with Alan Grant when they're chatting. And I still stand that first act of Jurassic Park 3 is superb and I love it. I still love it. When Alan Grant talks in what John Hammond did at Jurassic Park was create all that sort of, I love it because it takes you back. It makes it feels like, right, we're back here again. Like this is it. It feels that's as much as that's why I don't understand the hate for Jurassic Park 3. I really, really don't.
I've only got one issue with Jurassic Park 3, and that's the raptor talking to him on the plane. Other than that, I have got no beef with Jurassic Park 3.
Yeah. I mean, I actually I would choose it over quite a few of them, to be honest.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm going off a segue there.
Yeah.
So I think what it is like it's a tough one, really. What was the first point you brought up, which is why I started talking about because I've lost my train of thought now. You were talking about the rafts, the characters, wasn't it?
The characters, yeah. So I did really like the dynamic between Zora and Duncan. Like their backstory was like a really nice, and like you said, I'd like to see a little bit more of that. But again, I don't think we will because there's nothing dinosaur based in their history. So
exactly, it's more of just them sort of
mercenary work and stuff.
Yeah, I mean they could have done with an overlay, but other than that, it is what it is.
But I loved Loomis's character. Like
I didn't like the mint. I didn't like the mint chewing though, because
my god,
it went for laughs. It went for laughs, but I was just thinking this guy would be walking around like a human tic tac, like like a human rattle, constantly everywhere he ran it. Like,
Now I do think one missed opportunity that they could have done. They didn't have to, and I'm fine with it that they haven't. But I think in that scene where they recruit Loomis in the museum, it would have been nice to put that as Rexy, those bones.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have to have been done. It doesn't matter that it hasn't, but it would have been, I think, a nice callback to say, this was the Rex that used to be in Jurassic Park kind of thing. It would have been nice.
You know what I would have been nice to do with that scene, and probably to give more of a staple to Henry Loomis's knowledge of paleontology and the current state with the dinosaur ecosystems and biology as well, is that you had what was the guy's name again? The philanthropist.
Well, the paleontologist.
No, not Henry Loomis. The other guy in that scene.
Martin Krebs.
Martin Krebs.
Yeah, Krebs. There we go. Krebs. Yeah. If Krebs came in and said, "Oh, you're taking it all down. Well, you've only just recently acquired this new fossil, haven't you?" And he said, "No, actually, that's the old T-Rex from the original Jurassic Park. It's not drawing the attention we would have thought it. Just a small bit of dialogue to show that he knows the difference between a fossil and a real skeleton. And then while he's actually going around saying we need to get samples from the 3 biggest dinosaurs, you could have had Krebs going, we need to get a sample from this dinosaur, and this dinosaur, and then Loomis come around and say, well, actually, I think you'll find one of those is the dinosaur. The other 2 are, in fact, just to show that he's really actually cool, the reason that they actually know what the difference is between the dinosaur and the idiot with the money don't know jack shit. Which again goes back to my earlier point with Dominion of the workers being in awe and the guys with the money saying, no, come on, guys, we need to get the work done.
You know what's weird and interesting about this is that, like it works. Like the DNA sample sequence thing, it worked great and I liked it. But it's weird that they've chose 3 dinosaurs that we've never existed before, never known before. Like,
And it just
the
happened to have all 3 fossils in the museum on display.
oh yeah, that made me laugh.
And at the correct size as well.
Yeah.
Like, all 3 of those dinosaurs were like just happened to be there.
But I think
let's forget about the Biosyn Quetzal, but the
I did think Loomis's scene with the Titanosaur was a really, really nice one, where he got to touch it with the leg and stuff, and that was a really nice scene as well. I did enjoy that.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's brilliant. That was.
It definitely gave me vibes of the first Jurassic Park Grant and Ellie scene, seeing the Brachiosaur for the first time. I mean, granted, they didn't go over and touch the Brachio, but it has that same perspective there from the ground looking up at this damn thing. You just get that sense of awe. The soundtrack was just amazing going through it as well. So yeah, no, that was a really good scene. I enjoyed that.
And I say, apart from it being the D-Rex, I did enjoy the opening scene. The opening scene was a really cool scene to watch.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
Yeah.
But the opening scene was probably arguably the. So what'd you say? I'd say Fallen Kingdom's the best. Hey, there he is. Talking to the devil. There he is.
Yay! Finally.
How we doing?
Welcome, Jay.
Right.
Welcome.
Doing all right.
We're just talking about opening scenes, and I would say I think it's up there in the top sort of 3-ish for me. Like, I think, as far as opening scenes go, the Shoot Her one from the first is always going to be a classic one, but I also find it silly at the same time, because they had all those guns, all those tasers, yet the guy still died with the arm going. And you just think, surely someone would have stopped that animal. There wasn't 3, 4 animals, it was one. They definitely could have done something about it.
Yeah, they got too much money invested in that asset. They can't just shoot her.
Yeah.
That brings a question in itself, doesn't it? Because wasn't this version 26 or 27? So where's the other 26 D-Rexes?
Yeah.
If we're led to believe that they would just kill them.
Yeah.
Unless they all failed. If they all failed and they died stillborn.
They could have been an embryonic form.
This could be the only one that actually survived. But again, there's more questions with the D-Rex than there are answers. Let's put it that way.
So I'd say you got obviously then I'd say Fallen Kingdom is probably arguably the most exciting of the opening scenes, and it kind of sets the precedence of where we got with the Moser escaping, and then you're like, oh crap, this island's like going downhill now. And then I'd say the Jurassic Park 1 is probably... Jurassic Park 1 does the best of, setting the tone of what the Velociraptors are like and how dangerous that enclosure is.
Yeah.
But the practicality of the actual incident is really silly. I think they could have easily have saved that guy's life. Whereas the Fallen Kingdom opening scene, I think there's nothing they could do about a Mosasaurus jumping out and snatching a guy off a helicopter. Whereas, and then you've got the Lost World one with the Tina Bowman. That was not too bad. That's just one. That's a classic one. And then you've got the others. I hate the Now This thing. I love the Dominion prologue, but I don't know if you can count that as an opening scene. And I like...
No, I'd say from the Rex charging into the movie theatre, definitely, but not the prologue start.
Yeah, I'd say that was pretty cool. But don't know whether it's as cool as the...
Wasn't as good as Fallen Kingdom.
Wasn't as good as Fallen Kingdom, no. So, and then you got the rest. I'd say this is up there in the top sort of 4, really, in terms of openings. Whether you buy the whole Snickers crappy thing or not, if you take this, but the actual build-up of the creature and the lab and the computers and like what they're doing, the character building at the start with the key situation and how, I don't know, I just think it's quite a good opening sequence, and the transition of that logo, absolutely love that.
So what year is that scene supposedly set?
2010.
Did we say 2010?
So 2010 if it's 2027, or 28 2008 if it's 2025. It depends on what year it is meant to be now.
Yeah, that was my initial thought. But the thing that threw me was the computers in that lab, because they seem far
old.
like 80s, 90s, 90s,
Yeah.
the genes.
that was my biggest query with that opening lab, was that it felt, especially with the Snickers failsafe, that felt like something that would have happened in the 90s. The tech looks very 90s. The only thing that kind of like looked more too futuristic was the outfits they were all wearing. That looked like they were coming from Space 2001. But the tech, the lab technology, even the way they had everything in VATS, that felt like a very 90s thing to do. And the failsafe system felt like this was a John Hammond, let's cut corners where we can to try and save some dough on the facility. But for it to be more of like this is Mizrahi's era of Jurassic World, that felt very out of place to me. But then also then comes the question of, well, if this place isn't in-gen modern day Mizrahi era, then how long has this facility been around? Because the tech to me says that it's been around for a lot earlier than 1993.
How would you? One of the issues. Sorry, James. This is one of the issues I've got, because in the trailer we clearly hear Zora say this was the research facility for the original Jurassic Park. That piece of dialogue is not in the movie whatsoever. And now we know that what they were doing back in 2010 was clearly hybrids for Jurassic World. So this is why I think why I've got an issue with it, and I know other people's got an issue with it. They didn't know if they wanted it to be a research facility for Jurassic Park or if it's just 2010 for Jurassic World and then onwards. And it's not explained either way, really. And that's so you're right what you're saying. It's confusing. It's confusing because, like you said, the tech does look very 90s. The gear they're wearing looks very futuristic. It's like, where's that line? You know, it's just confusing. And I think that's why this movie was clearly rushed and not really thought out properly in a lot of ways.
I mean, they've done a right thing in choosing the Snickers, because the Snickers logo on the chocolate bar hasn't actually changed overly that much in design over the years. Because I was just looking at like Snickers wrappers from like the 90s,
You
2000s.
geek.
Well, when was it? It used to be marathon, bars.
No, hardcore fanage when you're looking at Snickers wrappers.
Yeah, mate. These little details could help with that. Expect a Cluedo here could like actually determine, because the new modern Snickers bars, I'll have you know, have got little peanuts on the top on the wrappers, whereas previously they don't. So
make sure you don't.
At least they didn't call it a marathon. That's the main thing.
Snickers.
Yeah. And I'm interested that that's. I mean, could this be a biosyn facility instead of InGen? Like, would it suit biosyn for you better than it being InGen, because it's all white and pristine and very biosyn looking?
I mean,
I don't know about that.
Yeah, but why not? Like,
this actually being a new.
What about this being InGen? Have you bought though?
Nothing.
What about this being InGen though, Chris? Have you bought that makes you not buy it being biosyn? Like what? There's for me, it might as well have any logo.
It depends on when they're setting it. Like if they're setting it more towards that Jurassic World era thing, then it works. But I think linking it to InGen, trying to cement it more in the Jurassic Park era kind of thing, and I think that's probably why they went down the road of that.
For me, it kind of makes sense of it being biosyn, because if it's a lab full of genetic freaks, then they've nicked the DNA from what's it called, from InGen, and they're just trying to catch up. And all these genetic failures are because they've got a key ingredient missing, and these are all.
I mean, do you know what? Right, what you just explained there works. If they would have explained that in the movie like that, it would have worked.
Because it makes it make sense, because you think about it, then it also backs up Nedry's catches up on 10 years of research, and they're almost, they're trying to catch up on research, but they haven't got a Henry Wu that's working for them, that's like the chief geneticist that can do all this stuff. So these are all the outcomes that all these creatures they've nicked the DNA off of, they've not been able to do it properly, hence why they've all got two heads, they've got this, they've got them problems. And this is a biosyn abandoned facility, and they own the island, or Dodgson owns the island, and that's why to counteract this, I'd say arguably the biosyn creatures actually are better done than the InGen ones. They've got feathers, they've got, more realistic looking anatomies. I actually think the biosyn creatures are probably done better than the InGen ones. However, this would make, for me, it just would make sense. It's not a bother. It doesn't really bother me that it's InGen. I think we've got to the point in the direction now that most people that go and see this film that aren't fans, right? That aren't hardcore fans like us analysing Snickers bars and what year they came out. They won't care whether this is InGen, Parkergenics, Bob and Jeff. They won't care who it is that has made these creatures because they won't care about the link in the past. Nothing else in this film links to the past other than the music cues and the fact that we recognise that Jurassic Park T-Rex and that dialogue.
Do you know what, though? They don't learn the lessons because they're going on about, like, obviously, it all got took down by a Snickers. Look at the state of Nedry's desk. That's an accident just waiting to happen.
Yeah.
Hey, Charles,
it's like Mike's desk behind me. There's not much difference.
You want to see the desk in front of me, mate? Ignore that lot back there.
Yeah. No. Right. Go back to some more positives.
Why we love the Rebirth movie?
Yeah. Right. I know. I want to get back to one of the things I loved about this film was, the adventure feel that it did actually have. Like, it starts off with the Mosasaurus scene, and you have like that Jaws type moment where they're on out there, they're out there looking for it. It almost reminded me of the bit in Jaws where they start sending out the buoy things out to try and lure him in and capture him.
There was even a nice Jaws reference in there as well at that particular point, wasn't there?
Oh, what was that again?
Where he's going on about when he was planning to go back to that other boat that had capsized with the family. And I think it was Duncan and what's his face? It was
this is my charter.
He was like, "This is my charter." He's like, "It's my boat." Blah blah blah. That was a direct quote from kind of Jaws. It was Quentin Dreyfuss, Quentin thingy, wasn't it, that said that? But that was a nice callback to. There was a few callbacks throughout the film, but that's one that I picked up.
Yeah. Ladies.
During that scene where they go back and collect the family from the capsized boat, I literally had to walk out of the cinema because I was laughing so much at the point where they're sat on the sort of upside down hull of the boat and they look off into and they spot obviously Zora and her crew's boat coming towards them, and they're waving and they set off a flare and the camera turns on and the boat is about 20 foot away. It's who else?
It's like Nelson, isn't it? I see those pictures. You're not seeing them from that close.
I think that was one of the scenes that probably should have been shot at night because it would make complete sense. But when it's broad daylight, you're in the middle of nowhere, nothing else is surrounding. It's like, I can't see.
Could you imagine anything? Could you imagine the terror of being on top of a floating boat upside down at night in the ocean?
It would have been hard to shoot. It would have been a good shot.
My God. I don't even like being on a small boat at night the right way up. Like, upside down, capsized in a Mosa infested waters. No, thank you. That would have added with a bit of rain. That's what this movie was missing. Rain.
No rain.
Not a single bloody drop, was there?
Storms or anything. Yeah.
And then we could have had that like a nice watered footprint on the beach of the Spinosaurus footprint. That was cool. But back to, I like the basics of this. I loved how it felt like it was a simplicity. Like we were with them on this journey, weren't we? Like we wanted to go on this adventure to get this DNA sample, and when they started, they got to get 10 meters closer, like spin it in, moving in the wheel, like you're cutting backwards and forwards to the people driving the boat, and then her on the gun. That whole sequence was like done so well. I mean, I think the Mosasaurus did comply quite nicely with it to help him out. However, it was the mechanics of that canister popping out and then the parachute. I loved that. I thought that's such a good idea.
Yeah, I like what they did with that.
And what a good way to get the DNA.
Yeah. Because I was wondering, how they was going to retrieve it. I'm like, okay, they're not just going to stick a needle in the leg of this Titanosaur and just like give it a jab.
I'll tell
It was
you
more the
what
quets I was wondering how they were going to do.
I'll tell you what that gun reminds me of. It reminds me of a Kenner weapon that you would have got with the action figures. So you remember you had like the grappling hook, the rocket launcher. It reminded me of one of those sort of like gimmicks. It would not just shoot into the dinosaur, but then it would just eject off and then parachute down. Just felt like a Kenner toy.
Do you know what? That'd be a great toy, wouldn't it? Do you remember the old ones where you used to throw the soldier up in the air with the parachute?
Yes.
One of those with like a little canister on it, man, with a little like projectile gun, man. That'd be sick. I'd buy one of them now.
I'll bet your brother, and it pops off and shoots off with a little thingy.
I wonder if they could make it. Yeah, like you only have to have a mechanic, like a little.
Just like a Nerf gun.
Like the pop-up pirate.
Yeah.
You could stab it in and then click the button, it goes, pops off, and then the little parachute comes off. That's a great little thing you could have as a toy.
Mate, I'm patenting that.
Patent that now.
Taking it on Dragon's Den. I'll make $1 million in a year. Do you know what I did actually like? I did actually like that they included just a quick shot of that red and blue compass. Like the red and blue compass was awesome.
Red and blue compass was good. Yeah. The CGI in general, I thought, and the cinematography, it was an absolutely stunning film. It really shot like Thailand, the jungle. I know there was probably elements and layers of CG as well added in at certain points, but I mean, it was really, really well done. I liked the start with is it capuchin monkeys, and they had the helicopter come over the edge. I actually generally did think that this was the start of the mutant, and then the helicopter appeared. I was like, the whole like flying into the lab felt very Jurassic. That was quite cool. They ticked a box straight away there with the whole helicopter coming in. They're not stupid in that respect. I just wished I wish there was two things I wish it didn't have was the date of the 17 years ago and current day thing, because the current day is always obviously relative to whatever day you watch the film. So in 10 years' time, are we meant to, now you've aged it, what they should have done is given a date, an exact date. So whenever we watch the movie from that point onwards, we know that this movie's set back in 2025. Say just say it's 2035 now. We know that this like we know that Jurassic Park is set in 1993 because on the board in the thingy room you've got all the slides saying 92, 93 projections. So we know that's when that was. We know when The Lost World is 97. Jurassic Park 3, we only know it's 2001 because the fact that that's when the movie came out. There's no evidence on screen there. It was 2001. And then obviously Jurassic World, we then know it's 2015 because they speak about it. So, I mean, the lore is a little bit weird when it comes to that. But character-wise, I think there's more to see of Loomis. I think he could be the new Alan Grant of this new trilogy. And I think we're going to see some more adventures of Henry Loomis coming up.
You reckon?
Yeah, I do. I really do. Because he's an up-and-coming actor. I know he's not new. He's not young, but I mean, he's hit the big time now with this and with the Wicked film. And obviously he was in that English, what's it called? What's that old historical program?
Richardson.
That's it. He's been in that. So it's obviously very popular. He seems to be quite a good up-and-coming actor. I wouldn't be surprised if him and Scarlett are the ones to sort of continue this on as another trilogy. I don't know
I wish
how.
we get Duncan back.
We might get to that. We might get him back. We might get
so.
The three of them might have to go on another mission somewhere, and they might be the new Alan Grant with Ellie and Malcolm sort of situation. I know it's not quite the same, but I think the way Henry Loomis was, he had that almost that Malcolm wit, didn't he? There was a bit of dialogue in the swamp that they were talking about how, the Earth and how we're just the Earth will basically crap us off as soon as it can when we're ready, and they try to infuse a bit of the dialogue in the books. There
was one scene I particularly both loved and disliked in the same scene, and as much as I don't want to see a guy peeing, that scene, like, I both enjoyed it for the shadows of the JP3 Raptors and seeing them get attacked and stuff like that. But again, we said earlier on, we would have loved to have seen a little bit more of the JP3 Raptors, but I actually enjoyed that scene for what it was.
Well, I mean, I think it's meant to be that new Raptor, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, Jack, you were really positive about this film. Like, when I spoke to you.
Listen, when I had pretty not low expectations, but do you know what I think the most important thing for me is? I didn't engage with anything. I think I watched the first trailer and then said that'll do me. Didn't try to read as little as possible, if anything at all. I didn't watch any of the film TV spots. I watched nothing. I went in specifically, having gone into the previous three, just consuming anything I could get my hands on. I went into this purposely trying to know nothing.
I did the same.
And as I think as a result, I came out of it having not had any expectations going in. And I think as a result, it served it better. Yeah, look, don't get me wrong, there are problems with it and there are things that I didn't like. But, I mean, look, I thought it was 10 times the film of Dominion. I came out of Dominion. I went and watched it on my own, came out, had a Nando's and went straight back in with my wife. And as we'd already bought the tickets, I didn't want to go back in. She had to drag me back in.
Wow.
Whereas this film, I would have turned around and gone and watched it again. Like I thought it was, like I said, I just thought it was a good film. There are problems with it, sure, but I remain positive about it. One of the things I loved was just the little bits of fan service, like Crichton Elementary School, things like that. I thought that's the sort of stuff that is, the heads will get it, people will understand it, but it's like just little bits of fan service. I thought it was good, and also like a floating head. Yeah,
that's because you're top. It's a good sign actually. Segue that what you were just talking about there, Jake. Look, the nod of what some of the things I really loved about it. There was the Titanosaurus scene. It was very, very arcing back to the Jurassic Park first film with the same feel. Like we actually got to touch these animals now, and you could see like the little micro hairs on the legs. It really, I thought that CG looked excellent. Almost it could have been a practical effect that, for all we know. I know there wasn't, but they could have put a stand-in leg, couldn't they, for him to just hold for that shot. Yeah. That's how good the CG looked on it. I like the Snickers bar as much as the opening scene was a bit weird. The reference, it could be a reference to the wrapper that they discover at the High Hide in the Lost World novel.
Yeah, it was.
The raptors discover the wrapper, and then they sniff up. They see that they're hiding up the top, and they climb up the thing. That could be a reference to that. The girl going over. What's her name? The girl, the older sister, woman.
Oh my God, what's her name? Luna.
Who?
Teresa, was it?
Teresa.
Is it?
Yeah. Do you know what it is? Her real name's Luna.
Oh, okay. Teresa. She falls overboard. Well, she kind of gets left, doesn't she, and ignored. That same situation is the one in the Lost World novel. Dodgson pushes Sarah Harding over the boat into the swirls, and then she ends up surviving it. And that's a really intense scene in the book. And she survives it, and she falls into one of those little cave type things where she ends up falling asleep and drifting onto the beach just right at the last minute, and she survives it. But obviously this is done slightly different, but exactly how that was pictured in the film is how I pictured it in the book. Like that whole falling over the edge, the arsehole sort of like persona that he had, like he knew what he was doing there. And then when they go into the cave bit where the family meets, like that whole, how it looks is exactly how I pictured in my head in the book. I really love that nod. It was a subtle one that I don't know a lot of people would have noticed. They might have done. If you have noticed that, then great. If you haven't, then let me know, because that was a good one, because I was really pleased that I saw that. Raptors in the kitchen, we get kind of like that sort of same sort of thing in the garage. I think it is in the garage shop. It's not quite as good because obviously it's not raptors. I mean, I wished it was. I don't know why we didn't get a two-headed raptor. I'd rather have seen a two-headed raptor, actually. I think a two-headed raptor would have been pretty cool.
I think that's what we said when we analysed the trailer. We was hoping it was that, didn't we?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because in the trailer, the dialogue in the trailer, he says raptors, doesn't he?
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff in the trailers, dialogue wise especially, that they even make the final cut for some reason.
I'd love to know what this cut was.
But one of the big disappointments for me, do you remember the first trailer with the Rex like roaring and yawning on its front? That was completely disregarded, and I don't understand why, because that was such a beautiful shot in the trailer. I don't
It's a
understand
beautiful
why they
shot.
decided against it.
It's a cool shot, but I mean, I don't know whether it would make any impact on the scene though.
I've not mentioned this so far, and I'm surprised that I haven't. But we've spoke about this a good little bit, and it's one bit that kind of not irritated me, but I wondered why they did it, and I wanted to get everyone's opinions on it. The Rex swimming.
Loved it.
You loved it.
I loved it. Absolutely.
I enjoyed it, but what got me is when it's swimming with its head submerged. I don't know whether, if you think of lizards and stuff like that, or even birds, most of them don't swim with the head just underneath the surface. It was a little bit weird for me. That's the only thing that I think took me out of the film at all in the full film.
I mean, you could argue. Go on.
I was going to say, the only reptile that I know of that actually swims with its head underwater is crocodile, and that's what I'm kind of wondering whether that's what they were going for, because it even kind of does that crocodile formation as it's swimming.
It's a hybrid, technically, so you can get away with anything.
I mean, I wish they'd have done a shot from underneath the water of it swimming.
Mm-hmm. That would have been cool,
because there's an argument to say, was it even swimming? It could have been walking.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It could have been walking on the bottom. It just seemed that kind of sneaky.
The reason I haven't got any issues with this scene is purely because in the novel it swims after the raft and walks after the raft and goes under the water.
Yeah.
And everything we see in this exact scene we see in the book. So that's probably the only reason why I've got no issues with it whatsoever. I've got more issues with the raft not popping when the T-Rex bites.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Matt's going to go. I'll let you have a talk about it.
That's the only thing. That's the only thing that took me, because that scene was so intense. That's arguably the best sequence in the entire movie for me.
Yeah.
And when I seen it for the first time, like he picked up his jaw, shook it, and bit into it. When he bit into it, and it didn't go bang, I was like, yeah, that's the only thing that was so stupid about it. But other than that, it was fantastic.
You need to make condoms out of that, don't you?
Yes.
There's one podcast that I've listened to that discussed something about that scene that actually kind of makes a bit more sense. But even though I agree with everyone, like that thing should have been like as soon as it chopped around it.
That's gone.
But it cost gone. The Paleo podcast that I've listened to, they were discussing about the idea that because the Rex is already eaten, because we've seen the parasaur carcass on the beach, it wasn't necessarily intending on hunting the family and popping the boat. It was more playing with them. So it was kind of like, some small things that I can mess around with. So it was just deliberately just antagonizing them, just making their lives hell just for the pure fact of they can't do anything to me, so I'll just make hell for them.
It's like a cat playing with a mouse, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah, that's it. It's a cat playing with a mouse scenario. So it's just
naturalistic behavior.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, that kind of makes sense, but that still doesn't, to me, if you're going to put your teeth around some a raft, it's going to burst it. I mean, if you're crying out, it put its teeth around some tyres in Jurassic Park, and that popped, and I'm sure that wasn't exactly a gentle kiss either.
Do you know what, right? They're like, do you know what I would have liked to have seen? And I don't know whether this is just me thinking too much into it and thinking, do you know what, that would have been sick and we've seen it before and it's maybe rehashing stuff, is a second Rex. I think a second Rex surprising.
I actually thought we were going to get one.
Yeah. If you think that full river raft scene, and then at the end of it, when it can't quite get it through the rock, and another one kind of comes out from the side that's kind of been tracking down the river or something, would have been cool. But yeah, just wishful thinking, I think.
Yeah.
I think that river raft scene was 10 out of 10.
Yeah, epic.
Actually 9.5 out of 10 because of the raft not popping. I think that would have been good for dramatic effect of it popping as well in its mouth to make it think that the T-Rex had killed the girl. A bit like how I think it did pop in the novel, and then they all thought Lex had died, and then she popped up out of the water, out of the lagoon. Definitely would have been cool having another T-Rex the other side of that bank.
A quick thing about that scene. You know the little dinosaur, is it Dolores? It's called or something like that.
Dolores, yeah.
Was that in her backpack while the
Yeah.
Rex was biting the raft? I'm trying to
No,
remember.
that's
No,
another issue I've got with it.
It
Because
just turns up later on.
when they came down the hill towards the river, Dolores sort of sniffed the air and then ran away because she could smell dead carcass. Dead carcass means not predator.
Yeah.
And then she came back as the T-Rex was emerging, sort of thing. It's like, again, it's so stupid. Like, if you want it to run away because it's scared, keep it run away.
Yeah.
Don't have it come back just as the T-Rex emerges, because it's like it defeats the whole object of what you tried to show.
That's
sort
in
of
there,
thing.
sell toys on it. You know,
It's exactly what I said to Mr. Joe.
It just goes to show how addictive those licorice laces were. That's all it says to me.
Yeah, no, I mean, we've not even discussed Dolores yet.
Good.
I mean, Dolores versus Bumpy. Which one would you pick? If you had to?
Dolores hands down. Dolores hands down.
I mean, they're literally, you know, it's a dinosaur baby Yoda, isn't it? It's there just to sell toys to kids.
Yeah, but when Bumpy gets older, I can ride it.
I mean,
but when you don't want Bumpy in the area, you can't just push her out the door either.
I could definitely see Dolores being a more suitable pet. That's for sure. I mean, the Dolores thing, we know what that was about.
Yeah,
we know what that's about. As soon as we saw it, we knew instantly what that was about.
You've seen it in the backpack.
yeah. Did I have any problems? I mean, is it plausible for that thing to track you all down the whole night? I mean, yeah, probably not without seeing it again, though. I mean, we could have done with a scene where Dolores came back before the end of that scene, and maybe she scares and runs off again, and then we see her again at the end.
Or if we've seen her across the river, like running through the jungle, bush, or whatever, you know. Again, I don't know if we're asking too much of a little thing, but
do you know one of the things that wound me up a little bit just before the scene where he goes for a wee is when they're the little girl, I've forgotten her name, is feeding Dolores for the first time, gives her a little bit of whatever it is. It's the licorice, isn't it, or whatever it is?
Yeah,
licorice, that's right. Yeah.
Gives her a bit of the licorice, and then sort of, you know, backs away, gives her a bit more, and immediately she jumps in for a cuddle and sleeps next to them. That to me felt like we're talking about these are wild animals, have probably never seen human beings, never interacted with human beings. That's not going to name me another animal that's ever existed that you give it one little bit of food and it's your best friend. It just doesn't doesn't work like that, especially a wild animal. So I felt
it's very much the Disney complex, isn't it? Of you just give that animal that magic treat, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, you're my friend forever, sort of scenario. Yeah.
I mean, look, it is what it is. I mean, it's not. It doesn't necessarily. In fact, I wish she impacted the story a bit more. I know you don't, but I kind of wish she had a bit more of a purpose. Actually, I wish she was a bit more of an alarm system for them all. So. Yeah. You know, you kind of knew no danger was around, almost like, you know, like bloody Frodo's thing glowing blue when he knew the orcs were around. You kind of that instantly added tension. Like her being uncomfortable is almost like having your dog barking out in the garden. You know, there's something around.
Yeah.
What if she was like cocaine in the licorice and it was just fiending and just tracking him down for his next hit?
I told you, licorice is addictive. I'll tell you what. Actually, I think they should have been better for having Dolores been there in the first place, is if she was being attacked by a pack of compies. They saved Dolores from the compies. She's injured. There's a reason to keep her in the pack. There's a reason then to have an alarm sounding every time a bigger predator comes about. And then when she's able to actually get out the backpack and leg it off later on, then they've got a reason to either chase after the girl because, oh, Dolores is gone, or that they reacquainted later on down in the story. That would have been a better synopsis.
Yeah. I do think that the Dolores thing is It's an odd one because there's all the thing is with all of these films, all these little things they could always do a little bit more with, couldn't they? Like, someone's always not going to be happy somewhere. Like Matt probably could change the whole movie. There's little things that I would change, but not a lot. I mean, there's like here's one of the things that I thought about that would be pretty cool, and it's only just to show a choreographed scene a little bit differently. Now, you know when that girl goes and gets the raft out of the shed.
Yeah.
Well, what I thought would have been quite a cool thing here is that everything plays out exactly the same way, right? Up until that point. And then we discover the Dilophosaurus. So the Dilophosaurus is eating. The Dilophosaurus still hasn't noticed her yet at this point. It's just the view from the Dilo, from behind the carcass, looking at the girl going across the raft. But it's still eating, right? And it cuts to the girl going into the shed, getting the raft out, and then pulling it onto the decking. Now, at this point, the Rex is still doing the moving about, and she's like freezing. Then the Dilo notices her, looks up, jumps over the carcass, and does exactly what it does in the film with a thing, right? At this point, the Rex is still asleep. It spits at her. She ducks out of the way, and the spit then whacks the T-Rex, that's when it wakes up.
Mm-hmm.
She pops the raft, panicking, gets it into the water. The T-Rex then stumbles to its feet, and that's when we see everything happen. I know in the film it works out differently because the T-Rex goes for a drink, and that's when it notices her. But in this case, we could have done like the Dilo ends up waking the Rex up, pissing it off technically, and then her thinking, crap, the Dilo then sees the Rex and scarpers, and she's now like stood there with this raft like, crap, what do we do?
Yeah.
And that's when the ball gets rolling. I just thought that would have been a cool way of, I guess, showing the Dilo still being aggressive and being, and almost like just a quirky little scene that would have been quite fun.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be in it. It doesn't need to be in it. Like what we saw was perfect already. It's just something I thought would have been quite good to show the Dilo spit.
Yeah, because to me, on the back of what you just said there, James, had the Rex approached the carcass, chasing the Dilo off, it's then occupied by eating the carcass. The girl in the commotion can then still get the raft off the decking into the water. If the river's actually going away from the Rex, they can get that part going. The Rex turns and then sees them, and that's when it pursues it, thinking again it's another Dilo situation where you've got something approaching its meal that he wants to protect.
You could even play on the whole visions based on movement thing.
Exactly.
Like she could just literally freeze still, and that thing not see her. But obviously they don't know that their vision's based on movement. She could just be frozen still, like. And then notice it doesn't see her. Notice that it's then, like you said, occupied by the Dilo. It goes over to the Dilo to get rid of it, and that's when she starts going, they're like this, come on. And then she pulls it away, and that's when it attracts the Rex, and by that point, then it starts the chase scene. I mean, all of this would have been good. I'm not even complaining about that scene anyway, because it's so good.
No, it's still a solid scene. It's just
something else. It'd have been a bit
tweaks could help, Yeah,
it could have helped it even better. I want to talk about before, because I do want to wrap this up at some point. It's near 10 to 10 already. The Quetzal scene, the deaths, all the deaths of the guys in this film. I really liked the Spinosaurus one. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I didn't like the fact that he held on for about 10 seconds before he got dragged away. I think that was a bit stupid. Where he's just like,
yeah. Spino's been taking Velociraptor lessons in how to acquire your prey.
Yeah, and I mean, I just think it was just like, I mean, what was the Spinosaurus? Like, I like to view things from the other perspective, and so you've got the guys like hanging on, and what's the Spinosaurus just like sort of sat there like,
it's just like waving in the wind,
and rips him away, and then he can go.
Here's my problem with that scene, right? You know when Jonathan Bailey's character is hanging over the ledge, he's going from side to side, and it's wearing the rope. Sure, like I get it. you need that tension, you need that drama. Surely climbing rope is designed to withstand friction. Like,
Oh,
bit of
yeah.
vibration.
surely it's not 1812. Surely,
Yeah.
like it's
Yeah,
They got it off
reinforced
Temu.
with carbon fibre.
It's designed to support like 2 tons of weight, I think.
Yeah, and if so,
If they're
over that
using
little
proper
ledge
climbing rope.
there, surely that same friction would be happening at the top of the
Oh.
edge of the cliff. That same, physics would be applied up there. So that's one thing I didn't particularly get. And also, perhaps I missed this bit, but there was no explanation behind those sort of Mayan ruins. Maybe there was, and I missed that. But there was no.
No, there wasn't any.
Even just a passing comment, it could have been.
Yeah, I mean, I thought we would get some, but we didn't.
There's apparently there's an alternative opening to the film, and the other alternative opening was that there was going to be Mayans or like indigenous people in the jungles, and they were seeing InGen moving in for the first time to start building up the laboratories and stuff like
Why
that.
was that not kept in?
And that's honestly that I think that might be on the DVD or the Blu-ray. But that was apparently the other alternative ending that they chose not to go with for some reason. But that would have explained the Mayan buildings, because you're absolutely right in what you're saying.
There's also an alternate ending, isn't there?
It's a great nod to the Trespasser video game.
Yeah.
But in terms of, like you say, it just happens to be there. It just doesn't
if it
make
was even a
sense.
sauna, I mean, like, it would have been a great little touch. I'd love that if it was even a sauna.
Yeah.
The one thing that pisses me off about all these films, actually, this is nothing to do with Rebirth. This is just generically like Jurassic, full stop. Is the fact that we've had five movies since The Lost World. 5.
Mm-hmm.
And we still haven't got the 5 deaths.
Yeah. Well, they wanted to get away from the islands, didn't they? And to be honest, I think that's what the franchise
go
needed.
into another island.
By going to another island.
But this is the thing, like how David Koepp did not manage to come up with a single idea to follow on from Dominion, Dinosaurs in Our World. I don't understand it. Like, if you want to go back to an island, fine. That's why I think making it a prequel to Jurassic World would suit the film better. But they sort of pigeonholed themselves into a corner now where, okay, dinosaurs on the mainland are all but dead, so we have to go back to an island. And how are you going to give people what excuses to go back to an island full of dinosaurs? That's the problem they've created.
I didn't take that dialogue as specifically an island, because they just said, didn't they just say equatorial regions?
No, he said islands around the equator. There's 2 pieces of dialogue.
I think they can get away with that, because surely it's just the environment that, like the equatorial environment, rather than islands. Because you've got the Amazon, you've got Costa Rica, you've got obviously all the chain of the 5 deaths. That's all on the equator. Some parts of Thailand or parts of Asia all goes through the equator. So there's more than just this than these islands. Like, we can go, like, we've got a whole circumference of the earth to go over.
Exactly.
Do you know what? Even when they were saying this in the film, I don't have a massive problem with the dinosaurs dying out across the world. To be honest, I think what makes some of the best elements of this franchise is when it's, your typical monster in a house movie. It's you are on a secluded place, just you and these dinosaurs, and when it's out in the open and I don't buy into that. I don't think that has as much jeopardy as it does when you're in a isolated location. So like you're saying, if it's, it'd be great if we got a film about raptors in the Amazon, and a hiking company goes off and gets trapped, and then there's, granted the Amazon's a big place, but the fact that it's in a forest and a rainforest makes it seem more isolated. That's where I'd love them to take it. That fits into that kind of equatorial geography that they're talking about. But the fact that we are going back to islands, for me, I didn't see it necessarily as a bad thing at all, to be honest. I found it refreshing, even though it's been done before, if that makes sense.
It felt like Jurassic Park 3 and Kong Skull Island all mixed in a blender, really, to be fair. Like, I really like that part of Jurassic Park 3, that it was just, there was no other element to it other than just getting this kid and getting out. Like, with the Lost World, you had like all these other elements to it. Obviously, you had the main story of them all going to the island to retrieve Sarah, and then that's when they discover that InGen are going in there and taking the animals out, and then there was that whole situation, and so it changed quite a fair bit. But the simplicity of the story in Jurassic Park 3 enabled you to just go on the adventure with them and not have to think about anything else other than what's next. Whereas this kind of thing was like we had that mission of what's next. Okay, we've done the Titanosaur, brilliant. We've done the Mosasaurus, brilliant. That whole sequence, both honestly, like, I can't fault either of them two sequences. I thought they were really, really well done. I mean, is there any argument with the fact that this island can sustain that many Titanosaurus eating and breeding? No, definitely not. But like, I don't think the average fan will even think about that. Not average fan, that's the wrong thing to say. Fans probably would. Average moviegoer would.
Average moviegoer,
yeah, would not think about that or care about that.
Do you know what? Just picking up on that point, at the average moviegoer, the people that I've spoke to who aren't, JP nuts like us lot, the thing that they've all fed back is this feels like more like the original 3. I really enjoyed it. It didn't feel like the last 3 that we've just got. They felt that it's been easier to follow, and it's just like a fun summer blockbuster that they can relate the original 3 to. And I think that is, a lot of the times we can get caught up in lore and, okay, well, what does this mean for this guy that, 30 years ago? We get all of that. But actually, I think for the general audience, it's a shift in these cheesy blockbusters that we got for the last 3 versus it's more grounded in that original trilogy, which I think is a great thing.
I mean, look, we'll grow and love to these characters over time. Like, I think, like, if they do plan on making another trilogy, think of how we actually felt about Owen and Claire on the first viewing of Jurassic World. We didn't even know them really. Like, we knew Chris Pratt because of the TV show he worked on, and Bryce Dallas Howard. I don't think anyone could even remember from being in Spider-Man 3 as Gwen Stacy. Or she might have been. She was in that Twilight as well. Like, there wasn't anything major that she was been in. Like, I would class as like a groundbreaking movie of the summer or the winter. Do you know what I mean? So
the only film that I knew her from that I would have classed as groundbreaking was The Village. She was the blind girl in the M. Night Shyamalan film where it turns out they're all
she was. Yeah.
Area. That's the only film that I could say that's a different film to anything else that's been out there.
I'd only ever seen Chris Pratt as. Actually, I'll tell you what I'd seen him in. He was in that.
Always Sunny.
He was the husband in one of those, in that chick flick movie with Kate Hudson, and what was that called? Where Bride Wars.
Oh, right.
He played the other half, and he was a bit of a dick in it. And I was just like, I recognise him. Oh, he's from, obviously, the build up, and then obviously
I knew him from.
And then obviously he was Star-Lord as well, which obviously was probably more popular than, I don't even know if Guardians was more than Jurassic World, to be fair, but either way, I'm saying is that we grew to love their characters, and we grew to like and appreciate who they were and their story arcs over the films. So we've had a decade of Claire and Owen. We've had 2 weeks of Zora and Duncan. So I think over time we will grow to like their characters, especially if they do produce more movies. Just say in 2-3 years' time they decide to write a sequel to this, and it's these 3 characters again. I mean, I like this movie enough to wonder. I want to know more about them. I'm happy to cut. Like, some people might come away, especially the harsher critics, might say, "I don't give a shit about him. I don't want to see him again." Like, I'm glad this is. I think I've had it with the Jurassics now. They're kind of going a bit too bat crazy. Whereas I think they've done enough for me to warrant, wanting to know a bit more about them and who they are and where this story is going to go now. I still didn't get round to talking about the death scenes. So I'm going to go back to that. Sorry, guys. I want to go talk about the Quetzalcoatl's death, that was really cool. The guy
Yeah.
climbing up the cliff, and we was talking about the crunch of the beak, weren't we?
Yeah.
And he was like, Harry was wedged in the biggest pressure point of the beak, where he probably had been like crunched, and then he was like swallowed into like the throat gullet thing. It was pretty cool. I loved it. It was so like, it weren't graphic in the sense of like blood, but it was graphic in the sense of like your imagination.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I always wondered.
That's probably one of my top 10 death scenes in the whole franchise. Absolutely, hands down.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I think all the deaths were really good, to be fair.
Yeah, I wish they didn't go as PG on that other woman's one though, the Spino, the one that sleeps and gets up.
Yeah,
that was a very clever shot. That was actually.
I think that was the best. That was maybe my favourite scene in the whole film.
Yeah,
that wonder. There was a lady sat next to me in the cinema, and when it's on the right hand side of the screen, isn't it? When the Spino just sort of wakes up or whatever, and she went, "Oh my god!" like proper screaming, and it was brilliant. And it's, you know, how it's so rare in the whole franchise, really, where you know someone's going to die and they don't. You know, it's only the only other one I can think of is, I'm sure there's others, but the only one that my brain's coming to is when, and even this is a push, but when the what is it? When the guy's hidden in front of the car. Oh my god, my brain's not working. But yeah, I just thought that was a really well done scene. I thought it was brilliant, to be honest.
Kris, that's my next thumbnail. I think that whole scene was done so well. Like I love the new Spinos, Jack, as well. Like
yes,
and I do like the Jurassic Park 3 Spino. The only problem I have with the Jurassic Park 3 Spinosaurus is the fact that it's the way that it killed the T-Rex, not without having the thumbs to be even able to do that. Like, it wasn't even necessarily the fact that it did kill the T-Rex. It was more the fact of how it killed it, and I just thought it made the T-Rex, like the fact that the T-Rex was kind of like almost like winning that fight, and then it did that little thing, and it kind of was like, oh. But then at the time when I watched the movie for the first time, I was 15, 16, something like that. It didn't bother me. I actually come away from Jurassic Park 3 really happy. I liked it. I thought it was quite a fun, quick film, and so it didn't really bother me at the time. It was only over time that I was like, oh, I wish it had killed it. Like, I hadn't have done that, and especially when I thought that was the last time we saw it as well. We didn't know anything else coming after. So I don't know. I kind of I think these new Spinos were great. I really like their design. I like their behaviour. The only thing I thought was a bit dumb was the behaviour with the Moser.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I would have preferred it if the Mosasaurus made them go inland to the shallows, and that's where the Spinosaurus territory was. And it was almost, okay, this is a new threat, not one that's coincided. Because when you go back to the Mosasaurus, it killed the Indominus.
Yeah.
It basically ate everything in the ecosystem. That's why it was becoming a problem. And now all of a sudden it's not eating these dinosaurs. It's hunting alongside them. It kind of didn't like that. That didn't work for me.
Yeah.
Well,
it is what it is. It doesn't bother me and take me out of the film. I just thought, it was a wasted opportunity. I think they could have used the Moser to draw them inland, and then all of a sudden, oh crap, there's now a new threat. This is Spinosaurus territory in the shallows. They hunt here because all the fish congregate there because of the coral reef, etc. I don't know, but they make up another reason. And these things now are hunting the boat in the shallow areas. They can't go back out the sea because the Mosasaurus is there. They've got nowhere to bloody go. Now this is when they end up crashing on the island. That's the type of thing that I would have done with it. It would have made more sense for me, that. But what we got, I really loved. I thought from the start to finish, it was pure action and really, really well choreographed. And the CGI was superb as well.
Spot on.
Absolutely.
So where do you think we go next?
Good question. I think, well, that's a good one to let's finish up with that actually. So
I have a theory of where I would like to see this whole franchise go next in the next film. So we know how at the end they're talking about we're going to open source this DNA so that everyone can have a sample of it. And it's not just something that's specific to the rich few, and people can do all sorts of experiments and do what they want with it, right? Just because open sourced it and made it available to everyone doesn't now mean that everyone is going to do what you want them to do with it. So what's to say now that there's other idiots out there that see this DNA stuff's all about and think, oh, this is interesting. Let's go to the island and get our own samples and maybe other samples that they haven't acquired. It then becomes a whole free-for-all for everyone to go back to the island, hunt these things till they've gone blue in the face. And what I would love it all to end with is you've got fatalities left, right, and centre. You've got governments being bombarded with red tape and lawsuits and potential war crimes of all galore, and they napalm the whole island. So again, taking something from the books, bringing it back to something that we would like to see happen, and it cleans the whole problem for everybody. Now, what you do for the third film is another question altogether, but that's why I would like to see the second film go.
I think there's only one realistic reason that they could ever go back to the island. I think that they're going to bring DX into the next movie because the little girl, she took Dolores on the boat at the escape at the end, right? Now, what if she's carrying the DX virus and they have to go back to the island to find a cure?
Yeah.
And maybe that's because there's a few dinosaurs on that island, the Rex, Dilo, the Raptors. These are all meant to be genetic, like you mutated freaks that have, they're either ugly to look at or something wrong with them, right? Maybe if the normal dinosaurs, the reason they were dumped there and left there because they have DX, and obviously they know it's deadly to humans or whatever. So that is why if they bring Dolores back to the mainland, she starts spreading DX around, they have to go back to this island to find the cure. And InGen would have had a cure on the island, surely.
I'm with Matt on that one. I'd like to see that one.
I think that's the only realistic option they have is as movie makers to go back to that island. Otherwise, what reason will they have now to go back there? They don't.
I agree. I think that is probably the route they're going to take. Personally, I'd love to.
I would love it. Absolutely love it.
I think it'd be great if they did perhaps a little bit similar to the Lost World in a sense, but I'd love to see a kind of a group of people bored of the hybrid mutant dinosaurs.
Yeah, get rid of that
revisit Sauna, but it's a group of people who want to go and hunt them. A group of, as they put it, rich dentists go and hunt it. Granted, you've got to work out how to get our three kind of A-listers into that script, but something like that, I think it'd be great.
Yeah,
absolute dream would be a Jurassic Park prequel, but I don't think we're ever going to get that. So,
do you know what would be quite good actually? That's a good point. Like obviously you had like the Roland Tembo, but I was 2 minutes safaris, rich dentist. Listen to any more suicidal ideas, okay? And you got that whole dialogue thing. Like he was such a arsehole character, but you just loved him because he was so real. It was so real.
Yeah.
But he butt heads with Nick Van Owen because of their views on nature, and Sarah because their views. Like he just saw these creatures as prizes rather than anything else, and he was just a realist. And imagine going back to the island again with, like you said, like a Roland Tembo type people, and I could see Henry Loomis having an issue with this because do you think they were hinting with Zora and her story arc because Henry discussed with Krebs, was it Krebs he was talking to, about these creatures being, killing a dinosaur is a sin.
Yeah.
Yes.
It might have been that other guy that got killed by the Spino, actually. Killing a dinosaur is a sin. These creatures are, that they shouldn't, but what's the humane thing? They were even talking about on the beach, weren't they? And then at the end of the day, she was just like, no, right, we haven't got time for this. We got to go. We've literally got to go. And so they went into the mission. But I think there could be a story arc there where them three go back to the place because they need to get something, like one operation, literally in, out, boom, right? And while they're there, they discover the InGeni type people that are there. They're killing these assets, and then you get that whole, like this isn't the right thing to do sort of thing. And then you've got that conflict like we had in the Lost World that ends up becoming a survival story where you get the DX, but you get the DX disease thing included in this. Like that's part of the main storyline. There is something in this. We need to kill this creature. To get it.
Would have been absolutely brilliant, right? Duncan doesn't get back on that boat as they're drifting off. You don't know if he's died or not. Everyone assumes he's died. We don't see him getting crunched. Then the next film, Rebirth 2, opens up and it's him on that island. And he's got to survive. Meanwhile, let's build it out further. The family are all petitioning to get that island bombed and carpet bombed. Like you were saying, napalm it because it's full of terrible dinosaurs. They're no good to anyone. Get it all bombed. The government are working it up, saying, okay, yeah, we agree. This is how we're going to do it. Zora, you've got 5 days to get in there and go and save him. Yeah. And meanwhile, he's there, existing, surviving on that island.
That'd work.
Lots of TRXP.
But I feel as if they didn't want to leave it open.
I feel like this movie's been made. This movie's been made for the general audience, not for the fans. I think. There's nods in it for the fans. Like there's the way it's filmed, the way it's shot, the animals. I think some of them are obviously made for the fans. However, I do think also like you got to think of what storyline with the general audience like. It clearly isn't aimed at kids this time, which is good. I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
And I don't think we will go that route again. I think it needs to stay consistent with the way its tone of the movie is.
Yeah.
This is a tough call because I think there's enough stories out there in the Earth equatorial regions to keep a story going. Like there could be another incident somewhere else where they need to sort out, or they need to spend the next movie, working on this science. That's what I was getting at with the Zora comment, because she was saying to Henry, wasn't she, that what would you do with it? And she was just like, well, I would sell it because I want my money. And then she came round the other end saying, I think it's a good idea that we do give it to the world. So it's almost like her story arc has changed from the start. She was very money orientated in the end, from the start, and then in the end she wasn't. She thought she obviously grew too attached to Loomis, and she knew he was doing the right thing. And it'd be interesting to know how that would develop.
Do you know what though? I have zero interest anymore in that storyline. The heart disease storyline. I'm kind of where it finished is where it finished, and I'm fine with that. I don't think they need to explore that any further. So contractually, have they signed up for?
I don't think they have.
No.
I think if they sign on to another one, they'll probably sign on a 2-movie contract. I don't think it'll be one more. I think it'll be, okay, we're thinking of doing this with the story. The Dominion's made X amount. Not Dominion. Rebirth has made X amount. We are going to continue this. We're going to spend the next 2 years writing what comes on after. We need you to be the main role again. She's got no more Marvel. What's her next big project? It's got to be this, isn't it? It's got to be.
Yeah.
And I don't know what Mahershala's going to be doing next. I don't know. Like these three could be the new Alan, Ian, and Laura Dern of the new trilogy, really.
But do you know what? The only problem with that is then you've got to have consistency with the story that you're telling.
You say that, but Jurassic Park, Lost World, and Jurassic Park 3 didn't have any consistency at all.
True, but there was only ever one of those three in the movie at that time.
Yeah, that's true as well.
So
arguably.
you had in Lost World, you had Goldblum, but you didn't have any. Laura Dern wasn't in it.
No.
You have, well, technically she wasn't it, but
Yeah.
Well, in the third one, but there's no. What I'm saying is, I don't know. By bringing in new actors, does that open up new storylines?
Yeah, I know what you
Yeah.
mean.
Does it allow us to explore different areas of the world?
But there's nothing to say that if these three come back in for the next films, that we don't have to have all three in each film every single time. You could do where it is you've got the second film's Loomis and what's the features. Next film it's what's the features and Duncan. So it doesn't have to have all three in at the same time. And even then, it's like you're going on the principle of, say, the original Jurassic trilogy, where you've got the main cast for the first film. Second film, you've got Hammond and Malcolm. Second film, you've got Grant and Ellie. You can still pepper the story with other likable characters, or even likable villains, if you will.
My worry with them not going along with this storyline of the heart disease thing is that this movie will then become more irrelevant, and yes. I feel that if they don't do that, then the fans will moan even more, because they'll just think, well, what was the point of this whole story of them going to get all these free... Even though, Jack, I know what you're saying, it doesn't need to necessarily be a plot point, but for the continuity and the reasons of why should we bother going to see this film? We're going to find out what they did with those DNA samples from the last movie. I mean, if they make it so it's standalone enough to sort of survive as a separate film, I mean, that this one doesn't necessarily need a sequel. We could just, go on, use our imagination and say, oh, well, they've gone off, they've got the samples off the island, they've gone back and they've saved humanity, or they've not saved humanity, but, they've cured, they've made they've extended life, which I did like, by the way. I like the fact they didn't find a cure, that they've found a way to extend life with heart disease as opposed to a cure of it. That makes it's a bit better. But I mean, there's not enough other story elements that would warrant. I don't know. I mean, do people turn up to a dinosaur movie to find out what they did with heart disease? No, they don't, which is a good argument. But it depends on where they take depends how far they go with it. I mean, they've got the samples. Like the pharmaceutical reasons they could be doing with this stuff. They could be testing them on creatures. They could be testing them on humans. It could lead to an area where I'm terrified of human hybrid with dinosaurs. Matt's favourite topic.
No, I'm taking it all in.
But I don't know. I mean, there's a reason to go back to the island. Yeah, of course. There's more science there for sure. There's more things we could look at. There's more we could work out what the hell these mutants even are.
The problem is though, like going back to the island, we're going to see the D-Rex again. We're going to see the Mutodons again. They're obviously going to bring in a couple of more hybrids, mutants, whatever you want to call them. They're not really mutants, are they? Because they were clearly purposely designed. Mutants, especially. So, you know, actually, one thing that hasn't been touched upon, actually, which I want to mention, is that we were led to believe by Gareth Edwards that the D-Rex was something that we were supposed to feel sorry for. It never gave us anything in the movie for us to feel sorry for it.
No.
That's another thing. Like, a lot of stuff that was said prior to the release of this film just didn't have any substance to it when you actually watch the film, and it's frustrating.
I don't buy. The whole way through, I didn't buy the fact that they wouldn't have just destroyed the animal when it did. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
No,
I don't know why you'd keep it around.
Exactly.
Why you would. Yeah, I mean, God, think of the cost to have kept it in that lab for what? To study it? Yeah, okay, I kind of get that. But if you then went on, let's say that was an early iteration, and then they got T-Rex, wasn't it? That's what they were trying to. Well, they got they got there. If that's what you're saying, it was a prototype, for want of a better phrase, of the T-Rex. Well, they got there in the end with the T-Rex. Therefore, why keep?
That's why
Like,
it's
it around. Yeah.
That's why it makes no sense, because David Kep come out and said that in his mind the D-Rex was Tyrannosaur and Sauropod.
Yeah.
So it's clearly a hybrid. It's not a mutant.
Yeah.
They're hybrids. The two animals that we see in this film, they're not mutants. They're hybrids.
Yeah.
If you're baking a cake and you burn the cake and then you make a second cake and it's perfect, you don't keep the burnt cake. You bin it.
You bin it, exactly.
So, I didn't subscribe to that, especially in the fact that they then went on to do it, like to get the end product they were after in the first place. What's then the point of keeping the one that you
Exactly. Yeah.
I just didn't.
Jack. That sentence you just said about the burnt cake, I would love to hear that come from Jeff Goldblum saying that to John Hammond. John Hammond, when people burn the cake, they make new cake, they don't keep the burnt cake.
Get me on the scripting for the next one. Yeah, I just that was one thing that I just didn't agree with me the whole way through, you know.
Yeah, same.
But I did one thing I didn't mention when we were talking about what we liked. I did love that end scene with the dolphins, the callback to JP1. I thought that was I thought it was great with the music. I actually thought even the lighting was exactly the same as when they were looking out of the window. So I thought that was a great, really good callback. Really good callback.
It's kind of foreshadowed, wasn't it? Because didn't the little girl say at the beginning on the boat when we got introduced to her that she wanted to see dolphins or something like that?
Yeah.
And so that's obviously what they were going with.
Yeah, brilliant.
I mean, look, I think it's certainly up for more discussions about what's going on next for Jurassic. I think we could have a few more people on for that discussion.
Yeah,
definitely. Me and Jack, we're going to go and see it again on Saturday. Oi.
Yeah, buzz him. I'll probably come out and hate it.
Yeah, you won't. Not after a second viewing.
No.
I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to going and see it again. I really am, honestly. Whereas I didn't feel like that about Dominion. I know I didn't. I went and saw Fallen Kingdom a few times because I actually did like that. I liked the whole island stuff, and I kind of felt like we should have just stayed on that island for the whole entire movie.
Yeah.
Because I actually really did like the ruggedness of that, and it felt a bit more wild. I kind of wish that, and we went back to the mainland a bit too soon, I think. But I'm definitely looking forward to seeing this in a nice, relaxed, reclined, lounged chair at Showcase at Blue Water.
It'd be interesting to know how soon after Jurassic World was Jurassic World 2 announced, to see if they follow a similar.
I can't remember. That's a good question. I don't know when it was announced. Obviously, it was 3 years, wasn't it? Yeah. It came out 3 years later. So obviously, you're giving yourself a year of pre-production, production, post-production. A good 18 months.
Yeah.
2 years there. I reckon when Jurassic World hit over 1 billion, they thought, boom, there we go. Let's get a horror director in. That's why they went with Bayona. But I'd get Gareth Edwards back.
I was about to say, if they go with another trilogy, then I think one of the problems Jurassic World trilogy had was that they changed director halfway through. Even though J.B. I thought was brilliant at what he did, like he brought that horror sort of theme to the franchise. But I think keeping Gareth Edwards on board for the next movie and potentially a third, I think it'd be the way forward, because the way this film looked was beautiful. Like, it looked stunning.
I think that's why Jurassic Part 1 and 2 I love so much, because The Lost World arguably, as a story and the way it's edited and cut together, is a little bit of a shambles, actually, really. It's choppy in places. There's things that don't make sense. There's areas where people disappear and don't come back. And when you look at it from a negative standpoint, from a critic perspective, you could eat that animal, that film alive, really. Yeah. But the consistency with how they feel are the same. The same way all the Lord of the Rings films feel like they are literally one movie that's just been ended and then picked up again. And it felt like that with Jurassic Park 1 and 2. It felt like a Spielberg. It felt the same. felt like it filmed the same way, sounded the same way. Whereas Jurassic Park 3 did feel different. But I mean, I think, and these three films, the Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, and Jurassic World Dominion, were filmed on 3 different aspect ratios as well.
Yeah.
That didn't help. I mean, I'm not really a huge fan. I hate the letterbox.
Yeah.
I don't like it at all. I like the screen being full. You know, I don't pay for a 50-inch TV for it to then be 40 inches because of the bloody width restrictions. So that annoys me. However, I mean, whatever I want now. I want, if Gareth does this next one, if there is another one, I want it to be the same. I want him to do it because I think he will do it the same way. I think it will feel like a constant. You know, why would he change the way he filmmakes? He wouldn't, would he?
No, it's not.
No, exactly.
That's his forte. That's what he's done. That's what he was picked for. So why would he change it? He wouldn't. So then we're guaranteed to at least have the same tone of a film in terms of color palette, the way the animals are shot, the way they're, the choreograph, the scenes, all that sort of direction will be exactly the same. So I think getting him back would be the first thing I would do. I would pay him money. I would say, look, you had a year to do that film, and it was already better than the last one that they had 2.5 years to do. So
longer with the pandemic,
with the COVID, exactly.
I'll be stunned if we don't get enough. I think the way that it's performing at the box office, I'd be stunned if we don't get another one.
Yeah,
one or two.
I mean, it'd be interesting to know how it does now. Superman's out. Because all the comic book nerds would be like jizzing all over that at the moment, won't they? So I don't think this will be put on the back burner. But this is more of a film. I mean, I don't know. It's going to have the effect that Romulus had on Alien, isn't it?
Yeah, this film for me, I feel, is Universal dipping their toe back in the water after the reception of Dominion to see whether they can get more films out of it. They've got the right director involved. They did very well with visual effects, despite the fact that there's no animatronics in it. That's going to save time and money, whereas before that would have been divided into studios for building models and animatronics, and then you've got a team of crew and everything. So that's already working in their favour. They've got a great cast. Whether they bring the same cast or part of that cast back for the next film is another question. But if they wrote this film with a 3-film treatment from the get-go, I think this could got potential to be a really good trilogy. If they wrote this film and then it's, right, we'll worry about the rest of it after it's made $1 billion or whatever to make the other 2 greenlit, that's where I'll be a bit concerned. Because if they're then rewriting everything, retconning stuff from the first film, not really doing research into the other previous films before now to nod or to audibly informing viewers of what's going on, that would be a little bit of a dodgy territory for me.
The only thing I worry about this is just like, what's the point in it? Like, what's the point in it? Like, that's the only thing a lot of people that don't like this film have got an argument with. Like, what was the point? Like, where are we any better off? Are we what? Other than obviously they did get the cure for the heart disease, but other than that, like, what was the point in it? Like, did we need it? No. Does it continue the story? No. Is it just to make money? Yeah, obviously. Yeah. But now they've done that. They can't, and they've. I mean, it could be left, couldn't it?
You know, I think that's the question you can pose to when they reboot anything. You know, what was the point in the latest 3 Star Wars films? What's the point of the latest Indiana Jones? There is no point other than there probably isn't enough good storytellers out there that can make these big summer blockbusters anymore. That's the reason we've had 578 Marvel films. You know, because people have run out of stories. They lean into what they know will make them the money. People aren't going to the cinema as much. These
so expensive now, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, they're saying that. Do you know what? Actually, I was quite surprised when I went last week, the week before, whenever it was 11 quid. And like my memory, and honestly, that was probably the first time I'd been to the cinema. I reckon it was the first time I'd been to the cinema since maybe Dominion. Genuinely.
Was that just for a cinema ticket, or was that cinema ticket plus confectionery?
No, just a ticket. But I feel like I remember it being much more expensive. More expensive.
It's definitely more expensive now. Like, and when Jurassic World came out in 2015, like we had the Cineworld card as well, so we all paid that. We had a lot more time. We didn't have kids. Everyone and everyone was out and about, and you know, it was cinema was like there seemed to be like loads of stuff out in 2015 and around that era too. Whereas I think like now these days, I think where streaming services are getting things so much quicker now, people are thinking, you know, like I remember Jurassic World took I think that took 7 months to get to release on DVD. So there was still a little bit of a wait.
Yeah.
But now it's got even like faster. Like I remember like some of the stuff coming to Disney Plus like within 2 months of just being at the cinema.
Yeah.
And Amazon Prime and
Wicked.
But it's not even. Go on, sorry. Right.
I was just going to say Wicked. When my wife went and saw Wicked in the cinema on a Friday, and on the Monday it was on. You could buy it on Sky. Like it was so quick going on to.
Like it's killing the cinema sort of thing. I mean, obviously, I assume that all these companies all get that. You know, they get the money for it, and Sky takes just a little cut of it for whatever. But it's just not. I think sometimes these films that are meant to be seen in a theatre are the ones that are struggling, because the independent films, or the ones that are like, you know, not theatrical ones, that don't need to be seen on the biggest screen you can. I think that's what Dominion's problem was, actually, is that it was a very cinematic movie, wasn't it? Like the cinematography of the film was actually quite good, I thought, with the whole panned out shots and all that. But it was so being on the big screen helped it, especially with the prologue scene and all that. But like most people will see these movies when they've been released at home, and then you know when you're at home, you know what it's like watching a film at home. People like on their phones.
Yeah.
Like your kid gets up and goes to the toilet, the dog starts barking, that disrupts the movie. Just all these little random things like you don't get at the cinema, where you're like engulfed in the story. And so
you sure about that, James? Because every time I go to cinema, there's always someone on the phone talking away, just like an old couple arguing about who's having an affair with who. So it's like,
I'd be livid. No, but anyway.
When do you think this will be? You'll be able to get it in like a home purchase, sort of September.
I think like September, October at least.
I reckon October. Yeah. I've already pre-ordered it through Sky, the Blu-ray.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's on time for Halloween.
Yeah, I reckon end of October, something like. Because it's normally about 4 months after the theatrical release. So, but I know it's coming to Prime. You can rent it on Prime at the end of July or start of August for about £20. So
I'm hoping they definitely need to sort out the text at the start. They won't.
They do.
They won't.
No, they won't do. No.
It's such a bad
unless
mistake.
Unless Gareth Edwards argues about that sort of information needs to be changed, the Universal won't do anything.
No.
There's no way they will do anything, because all they care about is the fact that people are going to buy it regardless.
Yeah.
Yeah, and although it might seem like a simple change, that is probably millions and millions and millions of pounds worth of ag that ultimately they may upset a few fans, but but
it could be the difference between getting bums on seats or not. I mean, like initially, unless you don't know about it, you're not going to know about it, are you?
Yeah.
But once you've seen the film, I know there's people from Outpost. Like I know Jack wasn't really particularly. He hated the film. And the law is such a big thing for some people.
It is,
and when you mess that up, you know, are they going to go and want to watch the next one, or is it going to? I don't know.
But this is it though. It's like the idea of this franchise is always aimed at a 12A audience. You're always going to get that 12A audience that's going to develop over years and years and years. Whereas the audience that have been here since 1993, that get older and older and older, it doesn't matter if they decide not to watch the next film, because you've always got that 12-year-old that's coming in fresh off the streets like, oh, I really like dinosaurs, I'm going to go see this film.
Yeah. Do you know what's really cool about this is that this is Steve Dunn's Jurassic Park experience. He's only ever seen them at home on home release. He's never seen one at the cinema for them. So this is his. He's the same age that we were when Jurassic Park came out. So that's something he's really looking forward to. Actually, I'll have to get him to talk about that on the next time we do a live stream or something. Danny's first experience of. Yeah, that'd be good. Like, obviously, my little one's too young. I'm just a bit too little still, but definitely.
If I can watch Jaws 2 at the age of 4, I'm sure yours can watch Jurassic Park.
I mean, she's watched it before. She watched bits and bobs of it, and then it got a bit too much for her, to be honest. She's watched the cartoon stuff, but not really, because she liked the. You know what? This is just how it works. She instantly knew who Bumpy was. We went to a dinosaur, like one of those walk-through park things. Like little statues that go, right? And there was an Ankylosaurus there that it wasn't blue, but it had like a bluish sort of tinge to it. And she went, Daddy, look, there's Bumpy. She was only like 3 at the time. I was like, Christ, that's how easy it is. Like, that's how easy it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think that is a good place to end the live stream. Hopefully, we'll rather than final thoughts, like, let's talk. Like, do you think everyone watched the film enough to rank it in a position yet, or still not sure yet?
For me, on a one view only, it's about a 7.58 out of 10 for me. Until I watch a second viewing and potentially a third viewing, I can't give you a definite answer. But at the moment,
that's a good question. Is that 7.5 on a Jurassic scale or on a movie scale?
On a Jurassic scale.
Okay.
Yeah. Agreed. And I'm going 1, 2, 3, 7, 4, 5, 6.
Oh, different.
Say that again. Sorry, I got confused after you said 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3, 7, 4, 5, 6.
Right, so it's in your top 5 as well. Right, okay, so you're the same as me then. Yeah.
I'm gonna go 1, 2, 4, 3, 7, 5, 6.
That's my telephone number.
Yeah.
This sounds like codes to some private email site.
Oh my god!
Come on, Matt.
1, 2, 3,
4, 5, 6, 7.
6, 5. Ooh, 7. Yeah, it's down there at the bottom for me.
I mean, Sam hates JP3. Honestly, mate, I really like that film, and I will argue to the hill. I don't understand. The dialogue's funny. It's great. It's cheesy. It's Jurassic. It's more Jurassic than anything that's come after it.
Yeah,
but it's an easy watch, that one. I can't help but want to put it on.
Yeah. That's the best Raptors in the franchise as well.
It does. Yeah. So, shut up. Anyway, what else was I going to say? Nothing really, other than just say that we're going to go. So, that's Mike. There we go. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching the show tonight. Oh, thanks for ruining my outro, Mike. You can be muted now. Anyway, thanks for watching the show, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And if you are new, hope you consider subscribing for more content. And obviously, we're going to do some more stuff coming out based on Rebirth. So check that out. Click the notification bell, and then you won't miss any of our videos. Until next time, only one thing left to say, boys. Life will find a way. Bye-bye.